Good morning, everyone. So we are into the second week in Advent, and I want to read for you two passages from the Bible to be a launch pad into our theme today. And our theme today is emptiness. And we've gone into emptiness many times. And this will be a unique angle of going into emptiness. So in Isaiah chapter 55, we hear this really consoling passage. Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. And you who have no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread, and your labor on what does not satisfy? And then the second passage I want to bring into today is Psalm 127. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. So both of those passages speak about where to find everything, what the pathway is to everything. They in a very consoling way, invite us to let go of everything that is not the one thing necessary. And the images are great, right? About not wasting our time on bread that does not satisfy, not toiling in vain to build an entire house. So all of these things are of this physical realm, and they're used with great example that there is only one thing that's really going to satisfy us, that's really going to give success to our lives. And I mean success in the best sense of that word. So that's really consoling, right? Because it's really nice that in a moment we have something that's black and white. But you discover that the path to unraveling all the ways we look towards the bread that doesn't satisfy for satisfaction, and we look towards our labored and anxious efforts to provide us security, we discover over time that it's a bit more complex than that, because we have to unravel the conditioning that leaves us so dependent upon all of these things that fall short of the one thing necessary. That I lay before you. But I want to take this a step further, because I know that if you're on this meditation, this call, you've experienced moments like this. What about the times in your life when you've really given everything to the one thing necessary? When you've really shown up vulnerable? When you've really, in that moment, let go of everything that falls short and applied yourself, surrendered, trusted? What about those moments when you stand naked and you find yourself in a state of emptiness? This, I believe, is perhaps one of the most terrible aspects of the spiritual life is that even when we give our all, even when we we truly open ourselves and we truly let go, that there are inherent, because of the nature of this life, there are inherently moments of terrible emptiness, moments when you're only there about source and you've been what seems to be forsaken. When we could say, as even Jesus gives testimony to, my God, why have you forsaken me? What about those moments? How do we stay in those moments? How do we persevere in our intentions, in the fullness of our hearts, in our minds? How do we persevere? When the moment for us is so raw and bereft of all consolation and seeming to reveal that there's no direction, no landing place, what do we do? One of the energetic constructs of Advent has an element to this because Advent points to a pre-manifestation moment, a pre-birthing moment. Now, you could argue that there's a pregnancy, and so there's a certain fullness. But if we take this image to the very beginning of all creation, we can discover that there is something formless. In Genesis, you read that there is a void, a void. And in our spiritual lives, there are moments that are just like that, that have a quality to them that we could say is a void. How terrible. How terrible. There's not an easy antidote because I know from my own experience of those moments and from having the opportunity to walk with so many others in those moments that there's no way through but through. There's no way to abide but abide in what is. I have in my poetry book, uh, it's a bit more of like a prose than it is a poem, but it's called Making Friends with Emptiness. But if you really read it, you'll see that I'm still doing a bit of a dance in this particular poem. I'm kind of skirting around the friendship a little bit. I'm yes, let me read these words. There you are again before me, emptiness. I would say your door is open, but there never was any kind of door, was there? My mind painted a door, swished all sorts of festive colors, billowing balloons and flittering butterflies, so I wouldn't see you. The relief of false festivities kept falling away because I felt you. Oh, you. Why you? Emptiness. Pulsing desires for truth kept making the scintillating illusion disappear, and me with it, shuddering. Filling the shutter brought me no relief, only delays. Why must you be felt, O emptiness, when the world dances in prosperity? When people in homes do not feel their tribe on the streets? I am so tired of painting doors, tying up my imagination into devolving, tedious paintings in colors old and worn. Emptiness. There is no tunnel, no cavern, no ground, no anchor, no search, no knowing, no clarity. No, 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 no. You are the black hole of my center, magnetically propelling me back, forward, wholeness. John, my friend, we drink the same wine. O wound that heals, O soothing cautery, do it again, I beg you. Break the membrane of this sweet embrace. There's something about that one phrase. Why must you be felt, O emptiness? In moments like this, when we have given our all to the beloved and we find ourselves in this place of emptiness, why must it be felt? Because if it is felt, and we do believe there's purpose in all things, then the question, the why it must be felt, is a fair one to ask, especially because we observe that the world, the nature of the world is abundance. Nature, you look out onto a hillside or any scene of nature, and even in the most stark, I was just in Minnesota where it was so empty and stark. It was pre-winter, and even in that, there's a certain fullness in the starkness. But what about these states of emptiness that seem bereft of even that? And I have this mysterious line that goes along with that. When people in homes do not feel their tribe on the streets, it points to separation. Emptiness, emptiness, I believe, is a texture of a certain nuance of the illusion of separation. And for mysterious reasons in our lives, we have these moments unforeseen when we are plunged into emptiness. For mysterious moments, in mysterious ways, even in our path of union with the beloved, we're meant to feel, to taste, to smell, to touch, to see. We're meant to get so intimate with this void, with this texture of emptiness. And I think as my poem at the end begins to point to this, there's a certain black hole quality. There's a magnetism. Because when we've surrendered to the beloved 100%, there is a way that we are magnetically changed, magnetically. You know, I quoted from Adyashanti in this weekend's reflection. And earlier on in that book, he talks about, it's a great book. It's called The End of Your World. And he talks about that when we have awakening experiences, and not the ones that are abiding, meaning that we don't move out of that awakening experience, but the non-abiding ones where awakening happens in fullness, but then we're not abiding in it in the moment. He said it's impossible that once we have shifted in any form of awakening experience that we can forget it entirely. And that makes the emptiness terrible because there is the awareness of the texture and the felt sense of awakening in the abiding qualities. It seems to make it even more like a death. Break the membrane, a wound that heals. And where then do we rest? If there is no anchor, if there is no ground, if there is no path, if there is nothing in those moments that we can lean into, and we find that we're not able to even use our minds to hold on to a certain tenet of our own faith and our own truth, how do we abide? We abide by allowing the emptiness. Therese of Lisieux in her last days was plunged into a true dark night of the soul. And she recounts that even she had dry prayer and things like that most of her religious life. She has these moments of ecstasy and bliss, but mostly she has this subtle abiding that happens, but she has a lot of dryness in her experience in contemplative life. And she has this undaunted faith in things that she calls heaven and being forever with God, and how she's going to spend her heaven doing good on earth. And she has all of these things that give her great joy and great consolation. And towards the end of her life, she's plunged into that even being taken away. And she's questioned by her sisters about this and how she moves in this state of emptiness. She doesn't try to force feelings that aren't there. She doesn't try to force to hold on to something she can't actually lean into and hold on to. She allows the emptiness. It is a further step in our awakening process to make friends with the emptiness, to allow it in such a way that we don't look for it to pass. I can tell you that it will pass, but to not look for it to pass. And that is dreadfully uncomfortable, to have given your all, to be plunged into void, and to allow yourself to simply be there. This is not an easy reflection, for me even. And what I'd like for our meditation to be today is a sitting in silence with each other. I'm going to guide us into recognition that we are sitting together whether you're on this call live, whether you're enjoying the call later. And wherever we are, past, present, or future, we can abide together. And we're going to just simply sit in that silence and allow and allow. What does that look like to allow? Because it's not a mental exercise. We drop in and we stay vigilant simply with what is in our minds, with what is in our hearts, with what is in our bodies, with what is in our environment, with what is in our relationships, with what is in our world. And we don't move in any direction towards any stance. We're going to use the image of holding a candle. Now, I know that that's not complete emptiness, because even having an imagination of holding something gives a little consolation. But I think that's okay to help us stay with the allowing of the openness. All right. I invite you to close your eyes. Draw up the very true recollection that in this moment, as you close your eyes, you are sitting with others, closing their eyes for the same reason, to allow and to abide without any movement with what is. And that it spans all time, past, present, and future. There are those in the past that have held this vigil that are with us now. There are those in the present on this call. There are those in the future, not only that will participate in this call, but will hold vigil with the same intention. And there are many, many realms spanning what we call time, space, and beyond. So we sit in this abiding and allowing. And if you wish, imagine, conjure up that you're holding a candle and that candle is lit. And you're simply holding a candle to the work of the beloved, to the expression of the beloved, however it wants to be, as you, in you, and in all the world. And with that, we move into an extended period of vigilant silence. And remember, if you move away through thought, through feeling, just come back. Let the candle be a way that you just simply come back. There's nothing to work out. And we bring this period of silent abiding to a close. I invite you to bring your palms together in front of your heart and open your eyes with Namaste. Namaste. Have a great day, everyone.